Welcome back to Embracing Diversity. Thank you so much for joining us. I am here with Julianne Tharp and Landen Tharp, her husband, and we are going to talk a little bit about diversity in marriage with this wonderful couple. So, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm so glad to have you guys here. All right, so I want to ask you guys a little bit of questions about diversity in marriage. And you guys are a newlywed couple. When did you get married?
So we got married March 15th of this year. So it's been about 2.5 months.
2.5 months. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been a long road so far.
So tell me a little bit about how dating was for you guys. And when you met, you started dating, you started to get to know each other. How did background, culture, how did all that come into play?
Let's see. So when Landen and I met, we were both still in school, but we weren't necessarily, living with family or anything. We were still out on our own individually. So we kind of got to know each other just as us before we met our respective families. Mm. So dating at first was just kind of, getting to know who we were, what our likes and dislikes were. And then after that, we kind of got to know more about where we were from. So Landen is from Oklahoma, which I hadn't known that at first. And I thought that was a super cool fact because I don't think I know anyone from Oklahoma besides him. Yeah, I didn't know anyone besides him. So that was pretty cool. Well, I was born and raised in Vicksburg, but my parents immigrated from the Philippines. And so I was raised here in America too. And he got around to meeting my family. And it was so funny. It was the cutest thing. I really think my dad was smitten with Landen at the beginning. It was really cool.
They were very nice, really welcoming. Yeah. Never really felt like, I feel like you hear a lot of the stories, growing up about your friends and their parents, and they're the dads at the door with the shotgun type thing. And
mm-hmm.
I'm glad that her parents are definitely not like that.
No, like I said, Filipinos are friendly island people. So.
No, it was awesome. I feel like the more stressful part wasn't really meeting her parents so much as meeting the whole community. Because what was that, the party where I met everybody?
Was it the the Christmas, or?
I think it was at the Christmas party.
I think it was the Christmas party. We have a big Filipino-American Christmas party in Vicksburg every year. And I guess that year was the first time Landen had ever gone to a Filipino Christmas party. And it's always in a really big, building. And it's I don't even know how many, couple hundred, maybe 150 something, Filipinos and Americans all together. Celebrating, different cultures, but, really embracing both of them.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And I think it was probably overwhelming for him because it was a lot of introducing, oh, who's that? Because like I said, friendly people. So they're come eat. Always a lot of food involved. So
what part of that was I don't know if challenging is the right word for you, but
I feel like that was the right word.
Okay.
I think what made it challenging at first was that she actually made me more nervous to meet everyone at that party than she did me to meet her parents the first time. It was kind of built up from the very start, and I definitely understand why, because we walk in and it's a huge room of, like she said, probably over 100 people, not probably, definitely over 100 people, and she knows every single one of them.
Yeah.
And you walk in and all of them turn and look at you and you know which one they don't know yet. and then it was like a big family reunion, and everybody knows that, cousin Jonathan's bringing his new girlfriend, and that's sort of how I felt it was going down.
Yeah.
I think the most challenging part for him is also because he's, pretty introverted. So he swarms of people coming towards him kind of makes him want to run in the opposite direction.
Yes. Landon, I get you. I'm right here. I'm the same way. Yeah, I'm an introvert too. So
introverts unite. And
yes. Separately. Guys, we've talked about not only like cultural backgrounds being something that you merge together in marriage, but personality is also can be a type of culture. Extrovert versus introvert. I believe this is very common in marriage, actually. How have you guys worked that out, and has it been beneficial to you?
It's kind of funny how different everything is, because like you said, I'm the introvert. I feel like she's kind of borderline introvert extrovert, but she's definitely better around people than I am. People actually like her. But it's funny because my family is very huggy, very, I don't know, affectionate is the right word, but physically affectionate. And, you walk in, you hug, you leave, you hug. It's a big, just hug fest every time you come around, until recently, obviously.
Right.
Whereas her family's kind of the opposite. They're a little bit more reserved. And so it's weird because she's the more outgoing one, yet my family was kind of the more outgoing family.
Right.
And it just was odd adapting to those sort of social situations when we were each used to something different, and honestly kind of preferred something different in our interactions.
Yeah.
I think it is funny because I didn't really think of myself as an extrovert at all until I met Landon, and I was like, wait a minute, you're the real introvert. Like,
it gets worse.
You're like, we're on like, it's definitely what is it,
spectrum.
A spectrum. It's definitely a spectrum of introversion, and he's like on the far end, and I'm like I'm closer to the middle. And I think you really only see that side though if we're both together. I tend to make a lot of the conversation. But I like him when he talks, which I'm glad I like you when you talk, but it's more like he's described it the same way he describes like his parents' relationship, because when his father speaks, it's something important. It's something that does need to be said. And I feel the same can be said for him. When he speaks, it's something important. He has a point to make. Gotcha. It's not just, random filler or something.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That sounds like wisdom. You sound like a very wise man, Landon.
Better not open my mouth and prove you wrong.
So tell me a little bit about, like, how did you guys, I know, Landon, you said you met her parents and her community, and you met his parents and community. How did you guys educate each other on your background? I know, Julianne, you have, the Filipino background and the culture and the food and the music, is different. And Landon, the American side of things. How did you guys go about educating each other on those backgrounds?
I think for us, it was, I really use my family as an example. Like, for instance, I can take our wedding as an example too, because there are so many different aspects when it comes to marriage and uniting two families that I probably hadn't really thought about until it was my turn. And I was like, wait a minute, do we want to incorporate, different things from different cultures? And so in the ceremony itself, we had, we had an American, pastor, and we had our, respective like bridal party. But in the ceremony, we also included a couple like traditionally Filipino ceremonies, and it's the cord, and it basically it looks like an infinity. It's like 8 cord, and it's one half of me and then one half on him, and then the other one is the veil ceremony too. So that one, kind of symbolizes that we are both, dressed together, as a couple to the world. But those are traditionally Filipino ceremonies. And I thought that was really interesting, and a really special way to bring in both cultures together. Because, we're like us, like us.
Right. Right.
So then there's that, and then that was in the ceremony. In the reception, you can kind of see the differences there too, because Filipinos, you mentioned music, and Filipinos love to sing, love to dance, love it. And so I actually love to sing too. And so I actually sang at our reception. And it was pretty cool. It was a duet with my best friend, but we got up in front of it was like at least over 100 people, probably 150 or so.
Yeah, pretty close.
And we sang, and then afterwards there was great music. We had a DJ, and the Filipinos like literally dominated the floor like most of the time. And it's so funny because they know a lot of the same dances. They all go to the same like hip hop classes at the gym or whatever, and so they all dance like together, like uniform. And it's so funny because you see all of these Filipinos just dancing this like choreographed dance, and I'm like, they're having the time of their lives, because that's how they express themselves too, is through music.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that was a really cool way to display kind of like different kinds of cultures, for sure. It was a lot of fun.
I think that's beautiful. I've seen similar things in weddings, and I just think it's gorgeous. Like you said, like it's a wedding, but it's like us, and it should be. It should display who you are as a couple. So I think it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So Julianne, you were born here, but you have a Filipino background, and you're here in Mississippi. And Landen, you were not born in Mississippi. Is there a cultural difference between the two states that you guys have had? That's a difference that you guys have had to work through?
Not as much as you would probably think. I think Oklahoma is still technically the South, and so a lot of the I don't know, it's a lot more cowboy hats and cowboy boots and old. They're still the rural areas and the farmers, and like my dad's family. My dad comes from a farming family, and so it's just sort of, I don't know. It's similar, but it's sort of a Midwestern type South.
Yeah.
I will say, just in him saying that though, our fathers themselves come from two completely different backgrounds, because his father was a farmer, grew up on a farm, had lots of land. My father grew up in a family of sailors, so they actually all learned how to drive the boats and everything. And my grandfather was like a really well-known captain too of a ship too. So it's kind of funny that you say that. I didn't think about that before, but they really do come from like land and sea. And when you say like differences between even Oklahoma and Mississippi, I noticed that his parents are really they really know how to prepare for like storms, like tornadoes, things like that, because they're you know, they've had to think about that growing up. Whereas here, I was like, I know it's, you know, take shelter, but I don't think I really thought about it as seriously as his parents do, and consequently, like he does. Because I remember, you know, when we were in a storm together, I think Landon and we had to take shelter, and he was like, do all this, da 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 da, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, sure. I didn't know we were supposed to do that. I'm like trying to grab the dog and like a pair of shoes and like all this stuff. It was funny, but I was like, okay, that's good to know you're prepared in storm, you know.
Right.
I choose you to be in a storm with. So
I think that's important, Julian. That's an important thought, because culture doesn't always mean race, ethnicity, country of origin. Culture can be personality. Culture can be storm preparedness. You know, culture can be, you know, what neighborhood you grew up in. Even if it was in the same city, sometimes there's a totally different way that you've learned to do life, you know, in a separate neighborhood. So I think it's beautiful the way you guys are combining who you are, and
it's always kind of funny because it's like you mentioned, culture is always it's in a microcosm too, you know. We asked a stranger, you know, which one of us is the native Mississippian, you know, probably preconceptions about who that would be,
right?
But it's her, you know. It's one of those things where, you know, you gotta watch out for the where are you really from question.
Right.
Yes. Do you guys get that question, where are you really from?
Oh, she does.
Oh yeah, I do all the time. I definitely get that question a lot. It's kind of like, where are you from? And I say, you know, I'm from Vicksburg, Mississippi, born and raised, and now I'm from here, you know, Jackson, Mississippi. And then they're like, well, you know, where's your family from? You know, where are you really from? I'm like, I mean, what do you want me to say? I'm from here, you know?
Yeah.
So it depends.
You know what they mean.
If I feel
you
like,
just like to
I know. If I feel like I'm being complicated, if I feel like being complicated, I'm like, what do you mean? But if I'm like, okay, well, I don't have time for this conversation. I'm from the Philippines, if that's what you're asking.
I hear you. I think I would probably drag it out too, just for the fun of it. Well, I want to thank you guys for jumping on here and talking to us about diversity in marriage. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. This was fun.
Thank you. All right. Well, you guys have a good night, and good night to our viewers. And thank you again for watching, and we will see you again later. Bye.
Bye.